There's a lot to talk about with slurs, with descending slurs, but maybe the most important thing that I like to think of with descending slurs is rather than thinking of a pull-off, we call it a pull-off sometimes, which sounds aggressive. It's like, right? I like to think of it as a relax-off, okay? And the idea is that if when you land on the upper note, if you're already having a slight amount of curl to your finger, so there's already like a potential movement through the finger, then all you have to do is release that and your finger comes off the string. So I'm slightly directing the tip of my finger down and through, and then when I relax it, and actually a really nice way to think of it relaxing is I slightly push with the other finger. Let's say I've got 3 down, it's curling, and then I almost like push a little bit. It's like doing a little push off with one finger, and it raises this one off, and it naturally, boop, just slips off the string. So it's almost like I'm pulling with 3, and then I push with 1 and relax 3. And then here I'm going to pull with 2, and then push with 1. And now here I'm pull with 4, and push with 2. Now with slurring to an open string, there's no open string that can push. So here the first finger has to kind of do it itself. But I'm definitely trying to soften the tip of my finger so I don't get that. It's also kind of important, we don't think about this too much, about the nails in the left hand. We guitar players are so fixated on our right hand nails, because that's our tone. But actually, if your nails are too long in the left hand, they'll catch when you do a pull-off, and you get. So I keep them nicely trimmed, but actually not completely to the quick either, because I want it to support the fingertip a little bit. So that's something you can work on, like what's the proper length of fingernail in the left hand, because you don't want to get it caught like that. But in a way, I also try to think of a slight paintbrush feeling in the tip of my finger. If I want to do a really soft, round pull-off, I think your fingertip has to be gentle, has to be flexible. And there are other examples, especially when we go to study number 19, where you're going to want a little bit of tug to those to get a little more pop, but not here. Here it needs to be beautifully balanced, and the volume and tone between plucked and slurred should be as equal as possible. So now going on to measure 3, now he has a sequence of ascending slurs. So we have so he's got 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3. So when I talked about descending slurs, I tried to bring up the idea that it should be a passive, a relaxing thing. Ascending slurs actually has to be somewhat active. Like we call it a hammer-on for a good reason. Like your finger actually is doing a hammering motion, and it has to match the instigation of tone that the pluck does. So the trick to a good hammer-on is not how hard you land, but how fast your finger is moving when it hits it. When you're going to nail in a nail with a hammer, like if you go and you push really hard, but your hammer head's not moving fast, the nail is not going anywhere. You have to go whack, whack, right? And you don't have to push really hard, you just let the natural gravity and the speed of that hammer. So we sometimes have to do a little wind-up so that we have enough distance to get momentum. Now, some people overdo that wind-up, and they actually pull the finger really far away, and that's kind of like having a hammer and going up here. You're very likely to miss the nail and hit your thumb, okay? So if you wind up too much, you lose accuracy. So It's just the right amount. But I think for me, the most important thing is when I'm preparing to do a hammer-on, my finger is relaxed in the air. If you pull your finger away, like actively using what we call the extensor muscles, if you pull it away and then you say, okay, go that way as fast as possible, you still have muscles here pulling it that way. So it has to open up in a relaxed way so it can go whack, whack, and go quickly. So I'll just show you this with that ascending part. A really gorgeous piece that also really works beautifully to study left-hand slurs and AMI arpeggios. And so let's get going right away on the